This is Sandra and T the man. Welcome back to the Lee Street B. How you doing, T?
I'm doing good, Sandra. How was your Thanksgiving? How was it?
You know what? I went to see my mom. I certainly ate enough turkey along the way. You know, we had turkey at my job. We had turkey at my church. I know your family had a big get together. So I'm done with the leftovers.
Well, I mean, we had well, not too big of a crowd. 12 adults, 3 young kids, but it was good. You know, it was all family and friends, so we had a good time, and I enjoyed it. You know, it was a good holiday to have.
Yeah, we had good weather here too. I'm sure you did as well.
Yeah, yeah. Our weather was it was quite good here, and I really liked it. So let's get into some of this today. What's been
It was
happening
darn.
on this whole front of political intrigue?
Well, you know what? There's been a lot of political intrigue, and we want to start out talking about these senators who visited Moscow back on July 4th, claiming that they were warning the Russians to not meddle in the election. Among the eight, Richard Shelby of Alabama, Steve Daines of Montana, John Kennedy of Louisiana, and Jerry Moran from Kansas were among some of the senators who visited. I just want to, just say from a personal level, I find John Kennedy just to be disgusting. These senators here, they went to Moscow, and they met and supposedly taking up for our democracy. I don't believe anybody in the GOP, especially on the Senate side, gives a damn about democracy here in the United States.
No, you listen. They sold for Russian rubles or whatever they pay in Russia. That's it. You know, the Russians. I mean, the Russians funnel money through the NRA, and the NRA is only given to basically Republican senators. They call themselves going over there to get to the bottom of things, to see what's going on, as if John Kennedy can really talk to somebody in the Russian intelligence agency and think that he's going to extract some information. They gave him a story. They say, hey, you know what? It wasn't Russia. It was Ukraine. It was Ukraine.
And we find that this whole Ukraine business really kind of spun out from way back when Paul Manafort got on with Donald Trump, that when they first started talking about, who was interfering with the elections, Paul Manafort was one of the first people to say that, it was Ukraine. And of course, he got that information from Russia.
Yeah, of course it came from Russia. But you see, they're playing the fence, and, I hate to say it, most Americans are pretty ignorant. There's a Russian faction in Ukraine. And these people speak Russian. They're not speaking Ukrainian. They're speaking Russian. And they align with Russia's. So basically, they're Russian agents in Ukraine. So we know that Crimea is part of Ukraine, but the Russians have annexed it. So
right.
if this thing happened, it happened in Crimea. Now the Russians going to say, oh, that happened in Ukraine, because technically Crimea belongs to Ukraine. But no, it's Russian. It all goes back to Vladimir Putin. It always goes back to his oligarchs. So John Kennedy to come up there talking about he don't know. Well, why would you believe a liar? But then again, Trump has lied 14,000 times, never told the truth. And then he's always going to take his word above somebody who's not to be too truthful. And that's the heartbreaking part of it.
Well, but also too, it goes without saying that these 8 senators went there to talk about what happened. But don't they believe our own intelligence agencies who've already said, look, it's Russia. You don't have to go and ask Russia, was it Russia? For them to tell you it's Ukraine. I mean, when did we stop believing in our own, systems that have, and even, a report from the Republicans have stated that it was Russia. So I just think it's all, smoke screen. I don't know why these people are trying to cover for Donald Trump and his administration and what they did in the 2016 election. But there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, well, you know what? They know it's Russia, but, this is a political thing. They're not going to come out and say, well, the president did it. We're going to be upstanding. We're going to defend the Constitution. We're going to look for the American people. That's not what they're going to do. They're about them and about themselves. So, I mean, that's it. That's the bottom line.
They're not interested in saving our democracy.
Not at all. They talk big, but they don't want it. They don't want it to happen. They just don't. Exactly. It's just words on the paper. The Constitution means nothing to them, Sandra. They took that oath. It's just like somebody seducing some underage, naive young girl and talking about, I love you, I'm going to marry you, and knowing that they'll never do that. That's it.
And I'm going to leave my wife.
Yeah, I'm going to leave my wife.
And kids. Yeah, it's really sad, how far the GOP has fallen. For those individuals who, align themselves with the GOP, I just wonder, where their moral standing is, because the GOP is nothing like it used to be, and it's just gotten completely turned upside down with the election of Donald Trump. And, Donald Trump has just got his finger in everything. Here in Georgia, Brian Kemp wants to appoint Kelly Loeffler for the U.S. Senate in an effort, which is almost laughable, to expand the GOP appeal to women. He wants to appoint her, but of course Donald Trump doesn't want that to happen, and he wants another gentleman to be appointed because he's concerned about how these people are going to vote for impeachment. Brian Kemp has come out and said that, regardless of the fact that you don't want Kelly there, I would never appoint anybody who would be against, the president of the United States. He's really gotten people upset, with because it's Johnny Ikinson's seat that they're trying to fill. He's really gotten people upset.
Listen, Trump wants to stack the deck. Trump is used to cheating. The lady that you mentioned to take Johnny Ikinson's seat, she's a 90% chance she's going to support him. But if he has the guy in the judiciary, Collins, or Representative Collins, it's 100%. Trump is going for 100%. He don't want a 10% chance that he might lose.
And that lets you know that the GOP could care less about having women in the party.
They don't care, I mean, they just happen to be a convenience for them, when it helps them, a face out there, they say, oh yeah, we got someone in the judiciary, she's a woman, she's a GOP. All you other ladies follow behind her, get in line. You see what they're doing? They're letting us men lead because we know more, so.
Yeah, when you look at when you look at the GOP, it's just a bunch of old white men, I mean, and a few ladies, and they really,
you have Miss Graham and Miss Scott, the two bachelorettes from South Carolina. I mean, they
Tim Scott. Oh,
so I just want to put it on out there.
Put it out. We don't put Tim out there with Lindsey.
Come on out there.
Oh my goodness, man.
He want to be more than known for just a sellout, don't he? Don't he want to be known for other things?
If I were, one of his parents, I would just be disgusted with him. I mean, I can't imagine they put all that money into education for him to be the sellout that he is, for the GOP. It's people like him and Will Hurd, you just kind of look at it and go, wow, I just don't even, please hand me your black card and let me just burn it,
Listen. He couldn't get no black card credit anyway. So this is what he do. He's there. He's talking about. He's lining his pockets. Of course, his pockets is thinner than any other of them senators, but he's still lining them, and that's it. And as long as he's the good old boy, he'll do it. Even in slavery, they had slaves that that adhere to the master.
Well, they definitely had people, in slavery who, went for everything that the master said. And when they saw anybody who was trying to, leave, they would tell so that they could, get some extra, have a half a day off or, not pick as much cotton or something. It's just ridiculous. So, Donald Trump does not care for the rule of law. I mean, he continuously, in his presidency, has pardoned people who have done some of the most egregious things. And it just seems like the more egregious it is, the more adamant that he is about pardoning them. And so what he's done with Defense Mark Esper, he ordered him to stop disciplinary action against Petty Officer Edward Gallagher. Now, Edward Gallagher was acquitted for killing a terrorist, but he was not acquitted for taking a picture with the corpse of the dead young man. And so the dispute, peaked when they found out that Richard Spencer had proposed a deal with the White House to fix the trial, and so that he could, keep his pen. And Donald Trump, so Donald Trump, he shut all that down. There's some other officers that were supposed to go on trial, and I think, from right now, they're not even going to put him on trial. Donald Trump does not care about the rule of law. He should not be, involving himself in this kind of situation. Talk about we have to take up for our war fighters. Donald Trump, he did, this is a man with bone spurs, supposedly, who had his daddy, to have a doctor say that he had bone spurs. He does not care about the chain of command at all, as you can see in his administration.
Well, Donald Trump went to military school to play toy soldier. So that's it. He felt that, whatever rank he didn't make there as, cadet major, he's commander in chief. You got to understand, when Donald Trump has a problem, he gets on the phone, he calls Sean Hannity, he calls Vladimir Putin, he calls Aragon. They tell him, the Russians have studied American democracy. Putin has told them, you are commander in chief. You can do whatever you want to do. There's nobody can tell you wrong. So what if the Congress say no? Is the Congress going to come and arrest you? No, because you are in charge of the army. You can do as what they say, and they will obey you, because that's how Putin runs his show. So this is how Trump's going to run it. Now, the thing about it is with Gallagher is, is that he still has to work with these other people in those units. Now,
I don't know. Donald Trump wants him to go out and campaign for him.
Well, you know what? That's the problem, and the Congress knows that's the problem. So, listen. When you're illegitimate and you won by cheating, you do this kind of stuff. Because if you won a race and you just happen to win, then you wouldn't have to do all this. But this is somebody who knows they're illegitimate. He makes the loudest noise. He does the craziest things because he says if somebody finds out my game, I'm over with. And it's just like you. If you go to the Olympics in '96 and you win gold medals and they come back now in 2019 and found out that you took performance-enhancing drugs, they will strip you of your medal. You are no longer Olympic champion. Basically, this is what Trump done. He cheated. He cheated with the Russians' help. And now he's afraid that they're going to strip him of his so-called win. And the stripping of the win is the impeachment and removal from office. Now, he's going to get impeached because some people are going to follow the rule of law. Now, the question is, will those Republicans follow the rule of law? Because
they're in step. They're not going. They're in step.
And all the laws, and he's not upholding all the laws. That's the problem when you don't uphold the law. So,
or the Constitution.
He's met with all these senators, all these Republican senators.
Having lunch with them.
I mean, if this is if this is a trial, what trial does the defendant have to meet with the jury and have lunch with them and talk to them? I mean, they should be, not disbarred, but just excuse themselves from that being on the Senate.
Oh, absolutely.
Now,
I agree.
I see, the Democrats, they want to keep going along and say we're going to have a trial by the Senate. Listen, he ain't playing by the rules, and everybody's been in the rules, has been done this. Go ask John Roberts. Say, hey, can we remove these jurors who met with him? Can we remove these jurors who went over to Russia to meet with Putin because they're biased? Now there's going to be
Can
some
we remove
Democratic
these?
ones
Can we
who
remove these senators who have refused to apprise themselves of all of the charges, who haven't read
they
any
need to
of
be
the
removed.
allegations?
They need
You
to
know,
be
I mean,
removed. Now
exactly.
the question is, they're talking about you need 67 votes. So or that's what we say. That's when it's 100. But technically, you only need 2/3. So you can have 2/3 of 60, which is 40. That's just doing math. So as we were discussing the Navy SEAL Gallagher, Trump is just interjecting himself in matters that he knows nothing about. That's the bottom line.
But he's got the people all upset because he's messing with the chain of commandments and how they interact. They have their own system. It's wrong. It's making the morale of the people there, upset because they say one thing, and then all of a sudden Donald Trump gets wind of what's happening. If he doesn't like it, he just comes in and says, hey, stop the investigation, stop everything. And it's just not right. And there's been no president that's ever done anything like that. Donald Trump wants to be superior over everything and everybody. And this is just, it's just wrong. I mean, this man took a picture with the corpse. I mean, he was showboating. This type of behavior is, they don't like it. He was found guilty of it. To me, he got off pretty scot-free by, not being charged with actually stabbing a man, which the man wasn't doing anything, but he got off of that. And then, to be charged with, showboating and taking a picture with a dead corpse, and him not being held accountable for that makes the troops feel like they can do anything. And so the higher ups think, well, shoot, we can't tell y'all to do anything because, you get upset and Donald Trump hears about it, then you get off. And I just can't wait for him to get out of office. I just can't wait.
Yeah.
Just destroying everything.
Yeah, well, we both feel that way about it, so I don't know, trying to fix Trump and his insecurities, and he's a narcissist, you're just not going to do that. I mean, the only way that you're really going to get it done is through the impeachment and removal from office. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, you know what, and the reason why, you can't get anything done because you got people like Devin Nunes and the rest of the GOP who really are falling in step and following behind all of his craziness. Devin Nunes, oh my goodness. He may become the subject of an ethics probe following reports that he met with corrupt Ukrainian prosecutor to get damaging evidence on Joe Biden. And so this Lynn Perez, who's worked with Rudy Giuliani, he's ready to talk about it, and it's just egregious that Devin Nunes sits there and all smug and, spits these conspiracy theories to somebody like, Dr. Hill and all these people who have been, testifying. And he himself has been a part of trying to spin these conspiracy theories. And he himself has been involved with trying to, really just take down Joe Biden. I can't believe that, people like Lindsey Graham, who now is, saying that he is going to investigate Joe Biden. All these people who said, Joe Biden's a good man, you can't find anybody better, for all of them to just go after him. Devin Nunes, I mean, we've always known, for a long time ago that he was doing something wrong, with regards to the Mueller investigation. And now he's out there trying to, dig up dirt on Joe Biden for Donald Trump.
Well, Devin Nunes was the fox in the chicken coop. When the Mueller investigation was going on, he was running over to the White House, giving them all the information because he sat on this Intel committee. Basically, Adam Schiff just iced Devin Nunes out. So now this is moved to Jerry Nader. And Jerry Nader, he's a different kind of person than Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff wasn't going to have it. He wasn't going to play their game, and he went on. I hope that Jerry Nader learned something about it, because now they're going to talk about the process. How this is unfair, how this is a witch hunt, how they're not going to participate. Well, don't, because they're counting on one thing. They're counting on, well, two things. They're counting on that the Senate won't remove them, and they're counting on that public opinion is on their side, or at 50%. 50% is
public opinion is not on their side.
These senators, when they feel the re-election heat, then all of a sudden they'll understand this. There's about 7 Republican senators who are shaky. Joni Ernest is shaky. Susan Collins is shaky. Tom Tillis from North Carolina.
Oh, Susan Collins, she just disgusts me. I mean, I can't count on her for nothing.
She's shaky. So, you know, you have, those are just 3. And then you got maybe 4 more that might go along because they just believe in the rule of law and they actually care about the country. And that's what it gets down to. They don't care about the country. This is going to have long-term consequences. And believe it or not, you're going to need another president to come in there, writing the law and to plug these holes. Because most people just assumed that the president was going to be a big man, a man of honor. But, you know, this man,
or a woman,
day one,
hopefully one day a woman
about his inaugural was bigger than Obama's. You know, who you going to believe, me, my lying lips, or your truthful eyes? That's what he's telling you. And so, you know what? You know what? He goes through the process because history is going to be written. He's going to be impeached. And it's going to say that the reason why he wasn't removed because he had a corrupt Senate. And that's what it is. And so now that you know where the cancer is, now you just have to cut it all out. That's the bad thing. That's the surgery that we have to take. And you know what? And these senators with this false narrative, it's going to divide the country. The country's already divided, and it's going to get worse with him in it. So you know what? We need to eradicate this disease, and the disease is called Donald Trump.
Well, you know, the forefathers, when they put in all of these, you know, the impeachment, you know, they never realized that you would have a complicit, you know, Senate that would go along with the president and his corrupt ways. And not only, you know, I mean, and also participate in it as well. So we really are at a constitutional crisis right now as a country. And I don't think that people really understand and know how consequential that this will be years down the road. To be quite frank, I probably won't even be here when it finally gets straightened out, because Donald Trump has just bombed and destroyed everything that we as Americans thought, you know, were normal, but we didn't have to make a law about it. You know, he's taken what we considered norms, and you know, and he's just thrown it all out the window, and he couldn't care less. I mean, the last day of Mueller testifying, he went and called Ukraine the next day, and decided that he was going to, you know, withhold the monies that were given to them.
Because there is no consequence. He can do what he wants. There's no consequence.
And then everybody's trying to cover it up for him. They're trying to find a way to make it legal, because they were told that it was illegal. I mean, I'm gonna tell you something. I know, T, that you probably looked at a lot of those people who testified. I mean, I'm gonna tell you something. These people are patriots. I mean, everybody had to get their lies straight. People who lied, they had to come in and straighten it out, because they realized that they could be looking like Mike. They could be sitting next to Michael Cohen. You know, I mean, there was a pro quo for sure. And to be quite frank, they didn't even need to have a pro quo for this to be impeachable. But all of these people came out there and spoke about what happened, and it was just devastated to the White House. But you got Donald Trump acting like he's winning.
Well, you know, if you believe the lie, you know, you drink the Kool-Aid, you know, Donald Trump is the new Jim Jones. They all in the cult. They all into the Trump cult. They believe what he says. They don't want to listen to logic. They don't want to understand, you know, Dr. Hill and Dr. Yovanovitch. These are experts in Russian. They are experts in Russian intelligence. They are experts about Vladimir Putin. There is nobody in there that they get that higher than them, they can dispute them with any credibility, other than them running over there here and saying, well, Vladimir Putin says it. No, well, of course he's gonna say it because you're simple-minded and gullible enough to believe him. You know, if somebody come in my house and steal, and you my expert, and you tell me your neighbor did it, and my neighbor says, oh, you know what? It must have been one of somebody behind the other side of the street because they got thieves over there. No, hey, you know what? I'm gonna believe you. I'm gonna believe you because I got enough common sense to know what it is. But you know what?
And I know what thieving looks like.
Yeah,
I know what crime looks like.
But you know, we're making little incremental things. You know, we got, you know, the governor of Louisiana got reelected. We got a new Kentucky governor in there. So they're small things, but they're major milestones. So, and that's it. You know, he's gonna, you know what, Donald Trump ain't gonna be there forever. And you know what?
Yeah, but all those people that he appointed on the courts, by golly, it's a mess. It's a mess. How many people?
You know, this is with the Russians. The Russians wanted to be a mess, and as long as the Russians know it's a mess, you know, it's going to take you for. If it took 4 years to mess it up, it'll take 8 years to fix it. We've seen this before. Bush left office, and he left the banking industry in a total mess. He handed it to Barack Obama. Hank Paulson said, "I don't know what to do." You know, Obama fixed it. He bailed out the car industry. He did everything he was. And then Trump gonna talk about he's a better president than him. You know, he's better than Lincoln. Please, you know, yeah. Let me tell you what he's better at. He's better at being a Confederate, just like Robert E. Lee. That's what he's better at.
Yeah, and I need people to stop thinking that, you know, Lincoln was so great and he freed, you know, the first thing that, you know, some black people say, oh, well, he freed the slaves. Listen, that wasn't his goal, okay? It was not his goal to free the slaves. He always said that black people were never supposed to be equal to a white man, and the only reason he allowed us to have some kind of freedom is because he wanted to win the war.
Right, you know, and let me just say, you know what? There are times that people, you know, history get written by the victors. They get to get right history. Lincoln was a flawed man. Just like Nixon was a flawed man, Reagan's a flawed man, Clinton is a flawed man. Every man that has been in this presidency has been flawed, but some are better than others. And Donald Trump happens to be the very worst of all of them, the very worst.
Do you think that they're going to call up some more people and have them testify before they draw up the articles of impeachment?
They might. I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of it would it do. It's not going to change no minds. You know, even if, you know, you can put the trial and they can call these people up in the Senate and have them testify. You know, they playing this crazy stuff.
Well, they're trying to get Hunter Biden to testify in the Senate, and they're trying to get the whistleblower. I mean, all during the hearings, they kept, you know, talking about the whistleblower. Everything that the whistleblower put in his or her report was you know, verified by all of those individuals who testified. The whistleblower has testified. I don't know what the heck they think.
Well, you know, it's a game and it's a sham with them. You know, we're gonna have the whistleblower. We're gonna have Hunter Biden, but they're not gonna stick with Hunter Biden. They're gonna just try to instill doubt. Hunter Biden has nothing to do with it. The whistleblower has nothing to do with it. We went to the source. We found out exactly who said what, when, and where. That's it. Trump knew this. He heard about the whistleblower complaints, and then that's why he told Sotomayor no quid pro quo. We know that, you know, we know what it is. Basically, no.
But he found out that the Senate knew.
Yeah, so.
And that's the only reason. The only reason that he did it is because they got busted.
Right, you know.
You know, and so the GOP's going, well, you know what? Well, they didn't know that they weren't getting the money. Yeah, they did know that. You know, a lot of people testified to that effect that they did know. And Rudy Giuliani, I mean, if you're going to bring somebody up on charges, he's already being investigated by the SDNY, but I believe Rudy's going to end up right
well,
next
you know what? Let him go to jail.
Absolutely.
Let him go to jail. You know what?
Talk to Rudy. He's America's mayor. And then he says, no, Trump is distancing himself from Rudy, going, well, you know, I was his only client. I don't know why he went to Ukraine. He did cancel one trip. I'm like, dude, Rudy, haven't you heard this before? He's like running you all over the bus, all over you.
I'm going to say this to Rudy Giuliani. when Trump say he don't know you, I mean that hammer coming down. I mean you going down. You might want to write Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort, ask them about them jail facilities.
That's he visited Paul Manafort. Giuliani has visited Paul Manafort in jail because that Ukraine perspective.
I mean, Rudy, you look like grandpa from the Monsters with rotten teeth. You got ED. You in the middle of a divorce talking about you're poor, and now you're running over to Ukraine getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't created perjury somewhere, if not here, there. So you done. It's best for you to come clean and throw yourself at mercy at the court, because we know if you get a trial in DC, and if there's one black person on that jury, that person gonna vote you guilty.
I don't think that they'll have any problem, because I think most people in New York who knew that Donald Trump was who he is, they know who Rudy Giuliani is. I mean, we've discussed this before, that Rudy Giuliani, I mean, he was going through a real big scandal with his wife and his woman before 9/11. I mean, everybody hated Rudy Giuliani. And then all of a sudden after 9/11, he became this, great figure, America's mayor. But I think people in New York, I don't think anybody's for Rudy. I think.
Oh, he's not Giuliani. I mean, listen, you got a man marrying his cousin, do you think that's
okay? We cannot not ever not mention that. He married his cousin.
Right.
Right. That's crazy.
I don't know if it's the first or second.
It was the second, but I don't.
That's still too close.
Hey, I need you to get 6 degrees of separation.
Right, right. You know what? You got a city with 4 million people, and you couldn't find another woman other than your cousin. Okay.
I need you to stop picking and choosing folks at the family reunion to be your partner.
Right. Yeah. So your first cousin's daughter, you just thought that, oh wow, she's look like a good prospect.
Or she's divorced.
I mean,
going through a second.
What's wrong? The girl next door wasn't good enough?
Probably girl next door is his first cousin. Donald Trump, he has surrounded himself. Donald Trump has surrounded himself with some of the most corrupt individuals who are mortally bankrupt, people who are criminals, and Rudy Giuliani has proven to be one of those individuals as well.
He's morally bankrupt, he's corrupt, he's a criminal. American mayor, he tried to be tough on everybody, he locking people up, except the court stopped him, otherwise he'd still be doing it, So now he's working for some law firm. Listen, the law firm is distancing himself from him. They don't even want him mention their name that he worked for them.
I wouldn't doubt if they didn't take his name off the door. I mean, I don't know. I definitely would want to distance himself. Well, T-Man, this has been a great conversation. Catching up with what's going on politically, and we'll get back together and we'll do it again. There's a lot more to come before the holidays. I'm just gonna say this: Donald Trump is gonna have a very, very horrible Christmas. Hell, he went to Afghanistan for Thanksgiving. So.
Well, you know what? And speaking of Afghanistan, that Newsweek reporter talking about Trump was golfing and all like that. She tried to get it ahead of the story. Rule number one, you don't fabricate your story. She had it all written, submitted it, and thought she was going to enjoy her Thanksgiving because that's the pattern he normally shows, but he changed it up a little bit. He probably got wind of it because these politicians, they get advanced copies of it. So,
they said they really wanted to keep it under wraps. And you know what? I don't know if that's normal protocol. But, I would think that it is to a certain extent if a president is going to fly to a war zone, for everybody not to know that.
They always do it. Listen, they do it at Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, 4th of July, any big holiday. They always do it. So Christmas and New Year's, he may be somewhere too. Well, he'll be at the White House New Year's because he got a fundraiser coming there and having people pay, $10,000 a plate to get some chicken bones and if they stay there, to get some bed bugs or something bit on them, and
Those are
buy a Trump straw. It's a straw that says Trump for $10 to steer your drink.
Yeah, that's his way of mocking people saying that we shouldn't be using straws because we're ruining our environment. That's just how cynical he is.
Yeah, well, you know what? Listen, the good thing about him, the positive thing about him, he ain't gonna live forever. So, yeah, hopefully, maybe not 5 years.
Oh man.
You know.
Yeah, I don't want to start talking about what I would wish would be his timeline. Okay, so I'm not gonna take that up. Well, T,
Right.
man, it's been fun, man.
All right, it's been fun. Take care. This is T the Man for Sandra Tucker and S Hacker, even though she's not here. She's still doing her Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week, and take care and love one another. Bye-bye.